Okay, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a big night in America, and to get everybody out of the house, the night of the great debate, that you come to hear Torah, is a big schus that you have extra. I walked into shul this evening, and I noticed there was a lack of people by the minyan.
That's funny.
And then I realized what was going on. There was a lot of circus and excitement in the world of politics. So if you made it out of the house and you came to a shiur, you certainly understand what the month of Elul really is all about.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I just show you one thing? It was going around today.
Oh, okay, very
Please
good.
don't give up your share. It was pretending that it was Trump saying it.
So thank you very much to Or Simcha and to the Lesser Sins for opening the door to such a wonderful gathering tonight. And in Yetz Hashem, we should grow. That's what we're here to do in the month of Elul, every day really, but we should grow tonight, Be'ez Hashem. I was in the airport last week. I was traveling between LA and Lakewood, and as I was going through security in Los Angeles, there was a young couple. They looked probably like a chassan and a kala. And as I'm walking through, the young man looks at me with a very big smile on his face. It was really almost like Erev Rosh Chodesh, and he says, Good Chodesh, Good Chodesh. I said, Good Chodesh? He says, do you know what it is? I said, I think so. He says, it's Elul. I said, yes, it's Elul. He says, do you know what Elul is? I said, and we're there and passing through, and he's like screaming at me in the airport. He says, Elul! Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. I was wondering if he realized that I'm a frum person. So I said to him, yes. He says, do you know what that means? I said, no, what does that mean? So he said to me, everybody thinks Elul is a very dark time. It's a serious time. Everybody's looking down and they're doing tshuva and it's so intense. But Elul is ani l'doidi v'doidi li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. There's nothing more simchadik than the month of Elul. So I said, thank you very much. What a beautiful idea. And we said goodbye to each other, and I thought that I had parted ways from my new friend until, as I was sitting waiting for the plane to come, he walks back, Elul! Elul! Okay, I remember what Elul is now. But the truth of the matter is that he's saying over what we all know, but it's a very important message during these days. Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. Elul is the month that I am going to be to Hashem, and if we do it in the right way, Hashem is going to be to me, He's going to be to us. I think that everybody is well aware that as the day of Rosh Hashanah approaches, we realize that Rosh Hashanah is what we would call a spiritual marathon. It is 48 hours of intense davening, 48 hours of beseeching HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 48 hours where we are going to beg the Rabbi that they should give us another year of life. And a person cannot just show up on Rosh Hashanah unprepared and think they're going to be able to run the marathon of what Rosh Hashanah is really all about. I have a guy in my shul, many years he ran marathons. And I asked him one time, could you roll out of bed the morning of the LA Marathon and run the marathon? He said, maybe when I was in my best shape, I could have pulled it off. He says, but in general, before a marathon, it was months and months of training, of running, of miles, of eating the right food, of sleeping, of the exercise, of working on yourself. And then, when you get to the starting line, you'll be able to run 26.2 miles.
Come here, we just started 5 minutes ago. Come here.
Rosh Hashanah is a marathon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us. And the only way in which that you're going to succeed on Rosh Hashanah is if you prepare in advance. There is no other holiday that we have in the entire calendar year where HaKadosh Baruch Hu set aside an entire month as preparation for the glorious day of that Yom Tov. But when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe knows that without the preparation, without getting yourself ready, without working out, without stretching and those spiritual muscles that we have, we will not be able to do our best job on Rosh Hashanah. So what is ELUL? As we mentioned, ELUL is this idea of Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is going to be to me. There are two avodas, there are two aspects of ELUL that I would like to focus on tonight. One is very positive, and one is a little bit more difficult to handle. I'm sure that in this room tonight, without a doubt, every single one of you has at least one mitzvah, if not more, that you feel that you excelled in this past year. I'm sure that if you look back from the moment that the ELUL was over, almost a year ago, and you let out the last cries of Hashem or Elokim, and you promised HaKadosh Baruch Hu you're going to have a better year than you had the year before, and you were makabel, you accepted upon yourself a mitzvah that you said, I'm going to do my best in, I'm sure that everybody in this room can think back through the year, and they know that there's an area of mitzvahs and of Torah and of Yiddishkeit that you not only succeeded in, but you excelled in. Maybe it was chesed, maybe it was shmiras halashon, maybe it was tznius, maybe it was emunah, maybe it was yiras shamayim, maybe it was Shabbos, maybe it was learning halacha. I'm sure that there's one area in your life that you feel somewhat confident about as the new year is about to begin, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I committed myself, and I worked hard, and I accomplished this year. You should know that when you're coming to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, the greatest schusim, the greatest merits that you have is when you can show HaKadosh Baruch Hu what you accomplished in the last year of your life. We're going to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zachrenu l'chaim, give me life, Hashem. In order for us to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us another year of life, we have to show Hashem that we appreciate what life is really all about. And Dovid HaMelech writes, Dovid Melech Yisrael, the king of all of Klal Yisrael, who had money and he had power and he had honor and he had a palace, he had an army, he had gold and riches and jewels, he had everything. Dovid HaMelech himself tells over in Tehillim, Va'ani, but as for me, Kirvas Elokim Litayv, being close to Hashem is what is truly and actually good. The purpose of life, which everybody's going to be asking for on Rosh Hashanah, says to me at Tshuva and Yom Kippur, we're going to be begging, give me life, Hashem. Well, you have to know what life is all about and why He's giving to us. And the reason is, Kirvas Elokim Litayv, I want to get close to you, Hashem. Now, how does a person show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that this past year you understood the message of getting close to Him? It all depends how we lived our life of mitzvahs this last year. Every single mitzvah that a person does, it will bring you closer to the Ribbono Shel Olam. Every Yetzer Hara that a person conquered this past year, and again, we're not going to conquer it every single time, but many times that you did, every time in the battle itself, is Kirvas Elokim. It brings a person closer to Hashem. Every chesed that you were involved with, when you had to push yourself, chesed is not always convenient on your time. When that baby is awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not your time, that's the baby's time. And you are doing the ultimate chesed by taking care of that child. And he's cranky, and he's colicky, and he's spitting up, and he's driving you crazy. And you do it with love, and you do it with chesed. Every ounce, every mitzvah, every chesed, every midah that you worked on this year, it's all bringing you closer to Hashem. When you come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, and you say, Zachreinu l'chaim, remember me for life, you are telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look what I did this last year. Look how I performed your mitzvahs. Look how I was so careful. Look how I wanted to become better in this, and I was better in this, Hashem. You see that I'm a person that uses my life for the right thing. I worked and I worked and I worked to bring myself closer to you. So you should merit me another year of life. In the Jewish year 5782, it's 2 years ago, it was Rosh Hashanah in Eretz Yisrael, and there was a man that was standing and davening on Rosh Hashanah. His name is Rabbi Moshe. He's a very special person. Not only is he an Erlich, a very wonderful fellow, but he also is a Hatzalah member. And he had a lot of schusim, a lot of merits to show to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all of his mitzvahs, all the lives that he saved, all the people that he helped to get better through Hatzalah. But he was standing on Rosh Hashanah and he realized that there is a secret weapon that everybody has on Rosh Hashanah. Dovid HaMelech says, we say it every day after Shachris and after Mariv, we say, Achas sho'alti me'es Hashem. There's one thing that I asked of Hashem. And the Sfarim HaKadoshim say, what was Dovid HaMelech teaching us? He was teaching us that if you want to really grow in your mitzvahs, if you want to grow in your Yiddishkeit, you want to get closer to Hashem, Achas, only take one small thing upon yourself. You can't do an overhaul. You're not going to change yourself completely. You're not going to take on 10 different things and become an expert in all of them. But Achas, in one, everybody could accomplish one new thing or one better thing this year. So this Rav Moshe was standing on Rosh Hashanah, and he said to himself, one thing I need, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to show you how precious your life is to me. And he decided that he's going to do one small little mitzvah. And that is, before every davening, Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv, he's going to be makpid, he'll be strict, to always wash his hands. Many men go to the sink in the shul before Mincha, they take the Negavasa cup and they wash their hands to clean their hands and get them ready for tefillah, for davening. He decided, he didn't always do it, many times he did not. This year, that's going to be his mitzvah. He'll always wash his hands before davening. You think, what's the big deal? Wash your hands, not such a big deal. Okay, you're not always by a sink. You're not always in the shul. Sometimes you're running. I'm sure you've seen your husbands running and running and running. You tell them, isn't Mincha now? Yeah, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Don't worry, I'll be listening. Isn't Mincha now? And he's running and running and running. He did not have a chance to wash his hands. But that's what this is halacha that he took on himself. And sure enough, every day after Rosh Hashanah, Shachris, Mincha, Mariv, wash his hands. One day, somewhere like in the middle of the year, his wife, I guess actually must have been much later on because it was summertime, his wife wanted to go to a beach in Tel Aviv, which is a separate beach. She wanted to go swimming and bathing, and she asked her husband, could you give me a ride? He said, sure, no problem, it'd be my pleasure. He drives her down to the beach. He drops her off, and he says, you know what, I'm going to go, there's a place called the Yarkon Forest Park over there. I'm going to go there. I'll walk around, maybe I'll go jogging a little bit, get some exercise. You call me when you're ready for me to pick you up. He says, no problem. He goes to this beautiful park. There's a huge lake that's around there, a river, the Yarkon River. And he starts jogging along the river's edge, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And as he's jogging, he suddenly hears, Mincha, Mincha, Mincha. He says, oh, Gevaldik, he says, I was wondering how I'm going to daven Mincha today. So I'm traveling back and forth with my wife's at the beach after prayer. Oh, Hashem, there's a minyan. So he leaves the path where he was jogging, and he runs over to the group, and they start assembling all the men, and before you know it, there's 10 men, they're ready to daven Mincha. They're about to say Ashrei. And he remembers, whoops, I didn't wash my hands. He looks around. There's a river. But he didn't want to just stick his hands in the river. He wanted a cup. So he should wash. He's like, he says, you know what, when you took that upon yourself on Rosh Hashanah, you didn't mean in a situation like this, when it's convenient, when you're in the shul, when the washing cup is right there. That's what you meant. But now you're jogging, they're about to make a minyan, they're not going to wait for you. Of course, when you accepted it upon yourself, you didn't mean that. And then he said, what am I, being a fool? This is what I accepted upon myself. So he says, excuse me, does anybody have a cup? I need to go wash my hands before davening. So one of the men pulls a cup out of his sack. He says, here you go. He runs down to the river. And he puts the cup into the river to go and wash his hands. And as he's taking the cup out of the water, to his great horror, he sees the hand of a little child floating in the water.
Oh.
He's the Hatzalah man. Oh. He immediately reaches his whole body into the water. He pulls out a little girl who's drowning in the river. And he puts her on the ground and he immediately does CPR, and the Derech Nei, she responds immediately. And she starts spitting out the water. And she says, Ima, Ima, and suddenly he hears this woman frantic, Tehila, Tehila, Ivat, Ivat. And the mother comes running, and the child is alive, and he returns the child to her mother. All because he had one little mitzvah that he decided he's going to keep that year. And through that mitzvah, he was zeicher to save the life of a young girl. You might not be zeicher to save somebody's life with the one mitzvah that you're going to keep, but you will be zeicher to save your own life. Because when we come to HaKadosh Baruch on Rosh Hashanah, and we show him what we've been working on the whole year, and then, this is what I wanted to say, you must amplify that one mitzvah that you've been working on so hard this year. If you're doing chesed, do more chesed. If it's davening b'kavanah, do more kavanah. If it is shmiras halashon, you're guarding your lips, be more careful in everything that comes out of your mouth. And so on and so forth. Elevate that one mitzvah during the month of Elul, and on Rosh Hashanah, you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, V'ani kirvas Elokim litoiv, to be close to you, that's what life is all about, that's what my life is all about, and therefore I use my year wisely. I want you to please reward me with another year of life. That's the positive. That's the easy one. You're doing it already, you're just going to make it better right now. But there's another side of Elul as well. The Navi writes, Shuvu Elai, Hashem says, you return to me, Va'ashuva Aleichem, and I will return to you. The mitzvah of tshuva, as we all know, means to return. Where are you returning from? When you go on a journey, you go on a trip, I'm sure many people took vacations over the summer, you loaded up the car, you drove to your Airbnb in San Diego over there, you had a blast of a time, and when it's time to check out of the Airbnb, you get back in your car and you return home, you're going home. When you want to go to a simcha, family simcha, you hop on an airplane, you go over to Lakewood, to Eretz Yisrael, to New York, somewhere, wherever you're going to go, Baltimore, and you get back on the plane and you have your return flight, you're going home. Tshuva means return. Where are we returning from? Did we go somewhere this year? You're right here. You're still in Los Angeles. You're still living in the same house. You're wearing the same clothes. You're driving the same car. Where did we go during this past year that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Shuvu Elai, you return to me, then Ashuv Aleichem, I'll come back to you. Ani l'doidin v'doidin, the same idea. You come towards me, I'll come towards you. Where did we go? Just like the purpose of life is to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and every single mitzvah that we do is bringing us closer and closer and closer. You have to know that the opposite of what life is all about is when a person does a chait, when they sin, because it takes us farther and farther and farther away from Hashem. Rav Wolbe writes in the Alei Shur, every chait that a person does creates richok, distance between them and Hashem. Now Shlomo Melech writes, Ein tzaddik ba'aretz shelo yechta. There's no such thing as a tzaddik in the world who never sinned. Everybody sinned. Everybody in this room has sinned this year. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, maybe hundreds of thousands of times we committed sins this year. Sorry to break the bad news to you. And every time that we did the wrong thing, we moved farther and farther and farther away from Hashem. Now you want to be able to stand before Hashem on Rosh Hashanah. You want to stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah. You want to be mamlech, you want to make HaKadosh Baruch Hu the king and coordinate him over the universe and over yourself on Rosh Hashanah. But someone who's standing so far away is not before Hashem. Someone who's off there in the distance and has been involved in the many things that we're involved with, who's not standing in front of Hashem, you're not there. Says Hashem, I'm going to give you a bracha and I'll give you a matan, I'll give you a gift. It's called ELUL. ELUL is the gift that I'm giving to every single Jew, where it's shuvu elai, you begin to return from however far off you are, and then v'ashuv aleichem, I'm going to start coming closer to you. We'll narrow the gap. The distance is going to get smaller. But you have to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Hashem, I don't want to be far away anymore. I don't want to be in the distance. I don't want to be in the other room. You know, some people have FOMO. Kids especially. Kid has to go to sleep and all the other kids are awake. He can't go to sleep because he wants to be in that room with everybody else having all the fun that they're having. We should have FOMO of those people that are close to Hashem. There are people that are living close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are people that are striving to be close to Hashem. There are people that are examining their ways and their actions, and they're involved in mitzvahs, and every mitzvah is a connection between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't want to be in the other room when Rosh Hashanah starts, and you're looking and trying to figure out, well, what's going on in Rosh Hashanah? Says Hashem, I'll give you a bracha, and I'll give you a gift. It's called ELUL. And in the month of ELUL, ani l'doidi v'doidi, you just keep bringing yourself closer and closer and closer. One hand with the positive mitzvah that you are doing. On the other hand, you have to be honest and examine yourself, and you have to see one thing, the same idea, only one thing. You cannot change all of the mistakes that you made this year. You cannot fix up every chait, every avera that you did. You cannot change yourself completely in 1 month and suddenly you're going to be like this brand new person who doesn't sin anymore. Impossible. But, achas, sho'alti me'es Hashem, one thing that you know that you struggled in this year, that you could pick. And that you could work on. And it could even be the smallest, littlest, tiny thing in the world. But if it's the wrong thing, I want to correct it. I want to make it right for this up and coming year. So when you have a person who spends the month of Elul working on these 2 small things in their life, On one hand, there is the positive. I'm amplifying and elevating my levels of mitzvah observance. In that one mitzvah that I excel in, I'm making even better and better and better. And then there's one avera, there's one sin that I've been so careless in this year. I didn't take it seriously enough. I want to become better in that. You come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, and Hashem says, Zachvenu l'chaim, you want me to remember you for life? Why should I remember you? What did you do this year? And you say, Hashem, look what I did. Look at the mitzvah, and look at the chait that I've been fixing up. Look at the positive, and look at the negative that I'm working on. And look how Shuvu Elai, I've been returning to you every single day of Elul. Don't let one day of Elul pass where you didn't actively do something to bring yourself closer to Hashem. That would be a terrible waste of the gift that, sometimes you buy a gift for children and they look at the box and the box is more exciting than the toy that's inside.
Like the cereal box too.
And you just spent $40, $50, $60, the gift that you think is going to be the gift of the century. And the kid is like looking at the box, and you take out the gift, you take out the toy, he could care less about the toy. He's climbing in the box. It becomes a basketball hoop. It's his secret hiding place. He loves the box. But that's not what the gift was. The gift was what you went and you spent the money and you went to the store and you thought about your child. What is he going to like the most? Hashem gave us a gift. It's called ELUL. Don't look at the box. Get into the Chodesh, get into the month of Elul itself. And when a person is growing, the Shlomo Melech writes in Mishlei that there's only two directions that a person can go in Ruchnius. There is no plateau. There's nothing stagnant about Yiddishkeit. It's not like, a person goes on a diet, they lose 1 pound, and 2 pounds, and 5 pounds, and 10 pounds. They're getting so excited. They jump on the scale after the 6th week, 10 pounds in, they think they're going to be by 12 pounds, 10 pounds. Okay, so we're going to try harder this week. I'll eat less, I'll exercise more, I'll drink another 9 glasses of water this week, every day. Get on the scale the next week, 10 pounds. And it goes on like this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally you get on the scale, 10.1 pounds. Wow. In dieting, there's plateaus. You can just get stuck at a certain place, and it doesn't move here, it doesn't move there. Says Shlomo Melech, it's not like that in Ruchnius. In Ruchnius, there's only two directions. There's up, and there's down. Either you are growing and you are moving up, or chas v'chalila, a person is going down. The month of Elul is a month of aliyah, of ascension, of moving up. Ani l'dodi, I'm getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and He's getting closer to me. I'm doing tshuva, and He's reaching out His hand, He's coming close to me. I'm always moving. The steps might be little, but they got to be steps in the right direction. Because the moment that a person stops moving, they already begin to fall back. And as we're preparing ourselves for another year of life, where we're trying to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu how much life means to us, how much being a member of Klal Yisrael means to us, how much having another opportunity to use my neshama and elevate it and bring it out into this world means to us, that means that every day of Elul, we got to try our best to make it count, to succeed in getting closer to Hashem. Mitzvahs bring us closer, Averas bring us farther, Tshuva brings us closer. And that's what Hashem says. You call out to me, I'm right here. There's a story that I saw just recently of an older man walked into a Judaica shop It's not fair, you hear all the stories already. An older man walked into a Judaica shop in central Israel. It was not a very religious neighborhood, and the man behind the counter who was running the store didn't sell that many pairs of tefillin and that many mezuzahs. People came in for probably Israeli flags and little tchotchkes here and there, but really they weren't selling too much of the real Judaica. An old man walks into the store, and he walks up to the counter, and he walks over to the owner, and he pulls out from within him a small pouch of tefillin. And he says to the owner of the store, I would like to sell my tefillin. And the owner says, we sell tefillin to people, the customers. You don't sell tefillin. What do you mean you want to sell your tefillin? He says, listen, my grandfather was a rabbi in Europe before the war broke out, and he and most of his family perished in the Holocaust, and the only thing that survived the war was this pair of tefillin. But he's gone. Nobody in our family is religious. I'm not religious either. And I decided, why should I just sit around collecting dust in my house? Let me bring them in. Maybe you'll buy them. I'll make a few shekels. So the owner looks at the old man. He says, these are your grandfather's tefillin from before the war. That's all that's left of him. What a great merit you would have if you would put on his tefillin. So the man said, listen to me. I didn't come here to become a Baal Tshuva. If you want to buy the tefillin, I'll be very happy to sell them to you. If you're not willing to buy the tefillin, I'll go someplace else. You tell me. So the man says, you know what, I need to take a look at them. We have to see what they're worth. They're old tefillin. I don't know if they're still in good condition. So he pulls them out of the bag, he looks at them, the boxes happen to be in okay shape. And he says, I need to open them and see if the parchment is still kosher. He opens them up and he pulls out the parchment and says, wow, these are beautiful. They must have been written by some special sofer in Europe. Wow, you could get a lot of money for these. At that moment, the door to the store opens up, and a Chiloni, Israeli, totally secular woman walks in, and she walks over to the counter where the old man and the owner are talking amongst each other, and she says, I need to buy a pair of tefillin. I don't have a lot of money, but I need to buy my son a pair of tefillin today. And the owner says, oh, miss, your son, you're making a bar mitzvah? You need tefillin for his bar mitzvah? She says, oh, no, bar mitzvah. My son has bar mitzvah many, many years ago. Believe me, when we made his bar mitzvah, we gave him the most beautiful, most exciting, most entertaining bar mitzvah in the world. The catering and the music and the DJ and the fun and the activities. But tefillin, we didn't give our son tefillin for his bar mitzvah. We didn't know anything about Judaism. Can you imagine in Israel? A boy in Israel gets bar mitzvah and he doesn't even have a pair of tefillin. She said, but today my son who's in Gaza, he called me. And he said, Ima, you're not going to believe this story. He said, I'm in a troop here in Gaza. And most of us are Chiloni, not religious. There's a few boys in the platoon, in the troop, they're religious. And every day I see them wrapping their tefillin. So just today, he says, I was staring at one of the young men who was putting his tefillin on. And he saw that I was staring at him. And he says, would you like to do this? And I asked him, what are you doing? He said, tefillin. He says, I'm putting on my tefillin. And I said to him, what's tefillin? He says, you don't know tefillin? And he explained to me what tefillin is. And he said, come, why don't you put it on? He said, no, it's okay. I never did it before. It's okay. And the soldier looked at my son and he said, there's a first time for everything. Why don't you put on the tefillin? He said, you know what, why not? And the soldier helps him, And he wraps the tefillin, and he puts it on his arm, and he puts it on his head. He says Shema, first time in his life. He says, even shortly after this was done, we hear the siren going, and we are told we're going into Gaza. We have to go to take out the enemy. And we're going into Gaza, and the whole troop is going in, and as I'm walking past a chain link fence, the sleeve of my uniform gets caught on the fence. And I start trying to pull it out. And it's stuck. I can't get out of there. And I'm trying to get myself free. And my troop is moving forward. And I'm starting to feel that I'm in danger over here. They're moving forward. I'm stuck over here. I have no protection. And I'm trying my best to pull it. I can't get it out. No matter what I try to do, it won't come out. And my troop is going on, because that's how it works in war. They just have to keep going. They cannot stop. They're going and they're going. And I'm trying to pull myself out. I'm getting afraid. And suddenly, I hear an explosion and I hear gunfire. And then I finally get my arm out of the fence. And I run to where my troop is. And Rahman al-Itzlan, I see that several of the soldiers were killed. And many, many others were wounded. And because my arm got caught in the fence, I wasn't there when they got attacked, and I was safe. And the mother starts crying, and she says, my son said to me, Ima, who knows, if not in the zechut, in the merit of the mitzvah of tefillin that I did today, and no coincidence, my arm was caught in the fence, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved my life because of the mitzvah I did. And he said, Ima, please go and get me a pair of tefillin immediately. I want to start putting them on every day. So the mother is crying. The store owner is crying. And the old man is crying. And the store owner looks at the old man as if to say, you wanted to sell your tefillin, didn't you? Maybe you can sell them to this woman, give them to this soldier. And the old man picks up the tefillin bag and he holds them close and he says, I'm sorry. They're not for sale anymore. During the month of Elul, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see one thing and one thing only. Are you trying to get closer to Hashem? Not with 20 things, not with 30 things, not with 2 things. Achas, one little thing that you could accept upon yourself, that you could keep every single day for the next 3 weeks of Elul, into Rosh Hashanah, into Zezmei Tshuva, into Yom Kippur. And if it goes well, you do it even afterwards. They say over a story from Rabbi Chasman, who was one of the great mashgichim of Klal Yisrael, was mashgich in Hebron Yeshiva. A bacher came to him once and he says, Rabbi, I've been thinking so much. I really want to make a change this Elul. So Chasman told him, okay, but listen to me. I know you're such a motivated person, you probably want to change a lot of things. Yeah, of course. He says, no. One thing. You can change one thing and work on one thing this Elul. That's it. So he asked him, what should I do, Rabbi? He says, listen, you know yourself. You know what you need to work on. You go and you decide and come back to me. So the bacher goes and he spends the next day thinking about what he wants to work on, and he comes back to Rav Chasman. And he says, I want to work on this particular area. He says, great. Now cut it in half. That whole thing, too much. Cut it in half. And come back to me and tell me what you're going to do. So the boy goes, he thinks about it, how he's going to do even less, and he comes back to Rabbi Chasman and he says, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Great! Cut that one in half too. And as small as it is, that's all that I want you to do for the rest of the time until Yom Kippur. Because the Yetzer Hara loves when we have big plans, We're going to become such a big tzaddik and tzaddikis this month. We're going to change so much of our life around. We're going to serve your HaKadosh Baruch Hu like never ever before. I'll daven every Shmoneh Esrei, 20 minutes, all kavanah. I'll never have one stray thought. I'll never speak Lashon Hara. I'll be the biggest Baalas Chesed. I'll do everything. That's Yetzer Hara. That's not reality. Reality is you and I and everyone can only handle one small thing a day. A day. But if you hold on to it and you keep with it and you keep pushing every single day and you don't lose out, and if you start wavering, no, buckle down, I'm going to do it, I'm not going to give up on this. Just like that man who washed his hands every day, he'll save your life. Like this soldier put on tefillin, his life was saved. He'll save your life this Rosh Hashanah. Zachreinu l'chaim, remember us for life, Hashem. What's life? Show me if you understand what life is all about. You understand? It's to grow. Kirvas Elokim litov, to get close to Hashem. For that, you deserve another year of life. We should be Zeichen Yetz Hashem, that we don't get sidetracked by all the grandiose plans that we would like to accomplish in this month of Elul. I'm such a different person that I would like to become in the up and coming year. You're not going to change that much. You know that already. You know it from last year and the year before and the year before that and the year before that. The changes that you're going to make are going to be small. But what happens to most of us? We get discouraged. I thought I'd be such a different person, and I'm not. Say Chazal, say our Chachamim. Don't worry about becoming a totally different person. Just be a person that is committed every day to get closer to Hashem. And if you're that kind of a person, you'll see over weeks and months and years, you're getting closer and closer and closer, and then you'll start becoming the person that you want to be. But it's one little step at a time. May we be Zeichem Yetz Hashem, that we take advantage of the gift of Elul, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us, these miraculous days that are filled with such potential and such kedusha and such opportunities to grow. Hold on to the positive mitzvah that you're doing so well in, and begin to correct that one chait that you need to become better in. And in that zechus, when we're standing in front of Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, on the marathon that we prepared for, and we scream out, Zachreinu l'chaim, remember us for life, Hashem says, of course, since that you remember what life is all about and you live your life like that, of course I'm going to remember you for life. And He should sign and He should seal each and every one of us, our loved ones, our Kehilos, and Klal Yisrael, who had such a difficult year this year. Many, many, many people were seemingly not sealed in the book of life in this world. And we hope, Be'ez Hashem, it'll be a better year for Gans, for all of Klal Yisrael, a year where HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a nachas ruach from our nation, and as we all exclaim, Zachreinu l'chaim, remember us, not just me, us, for life. He'll grant all of Klal Yisrael a Shana Tova u'Mesuka, a good and a sweet year, Be'ezras Hashem.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Wow. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be it's common, but I think, yes, I can look back over the last year I grew, but it's not in the areas I took on Yom Kippur.
Okay.
But that's what it should be.
So the Rav Yisrael Salanter says that Torah is called Torah Achas. It's all one Torah. And it's all connected. So when you have a plan to do one thing over here, sometimes it's connected to other areas in your Yiddishkeit, and it will enhance your Avodas Hashem someplace else. So maybe even though that you didn't grow how you felt you would in what you accepted upon yourself, but as long as you found that you were growing in different areas of your avodas Hashem and your mitzvahs and your commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's also very good.
That's also what?
That's also very good.
I don't have to do tshuva for the fact that I didn't commit to that.
Well, does that mean that you didn't follow through what you committed to?
Isn't this awful? How about that? I don't remember.
Okay, yeah, so that probably just means that whatever you accepted was too big to accept upon yourself. So this year, start small, something small that you're not going to forget on a daily basis. It will become so tangible and so real. You'll be living with it. Yeah.
But something small that you're talking about, it's something like out of us, mechitzoni, out of us to do, like anachat tefillin or kriyat tefillin. That's something that it's mechutz la, but something from inside, בדייש בנפשי, something inside, like עכשיו אני מאירה פנים, מאירת פנים בבית. So that's more difficult. So מה הכוונה to take something small?
So either it could be something more external, like you're saying,
Yeah.
like the story of the man who washed his hands. That was the mitzvah that he was going to do.
Right.
And it could be, let's say a person is struggling with the midah of kas. Okay, they're an angry person. Now, I know I'm a kaisan, I'm an angry person. It will be impossible for me to control my anger all day long. I can't, I know myself. But I am mekabel on myself at least once a day that instead of getting angry, I'm not going to get angry. Now, if it means I have to bite through my tongue not to get angry, I'll bite through my tongue. If it means I have to go to the other room and get away from the person who's making angry, that's what I'll do. If it means to sit there quietly and not say a word then that's what I'll do. Once a day, I can only handle once a day, I'm not going to get angry.
You're saying take that on for the whole year, or you're saying do that for ELUL?
Right now, you start ELUL through Yom Kippur. And when Yom Kippur is over, you'll see if you can make it even better. Bezat Hashem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hatzlacha, everybody.
Thank you so much.